So, welcome, Nino, to our series Wednesdays with. It's my absolute pleasure to have you with me today. And I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation. I'd like to start off with your sporting journey. I know you started off in rugby at a very young age. Looking back now, what made you actually fall in love with that sport?
First of all, thank you for having me. And I'm really considering you to probably put on the wall some of my t-shirts, bring you a rugby ball.
Absolutely.
And then just alternate a bit with the
You'll be welcome to do
tennis
that.
rackets.
Absolutely.
Now, getting to the question, really good question. First of all, I started at 9 years old. At that age, kids don't really know exactly what they want. You know, you're experiencing several sports, football, tennis, swimming, rugby. So one of the biggest impact my father had, and he was a former rugby player. He took me first time to the rugby field, and I remember like it was yesterday. I hated. They asked me to run 400 meters, and I probably spent around 45 minutes to do that. You know, I was a chubby kid, and I was struggling even to walk. And what probably I would highlight is not necessarily that I started with rugby, but the fact that I actually find an identity. And kids, that's why I recommend to even my friends that have kids to take their kids to practice a sport. Kids at that time, they can find a family within that team, whether if it's rugby or football, and those coaches can become their mentors, right? Because even right now, nowadays, I can mention that several coaches shaped me, and probably the way I am right now and the way I act, it's also due to their behavior and the way they had an impact on my life, and they create an imprint, on myself. So it's really important. Although you can speak about sports, but it relates to education when you take your kids to the school to really analyze the person that will spend those 6, 7, 8 hours with your child. So it's really important, the coach, to be someone that you are looking up at, even if it's just a coach or a trainer.
And that's a very good point, because I think the coaches taking children from a young age shape the future of that child or children, right?
Yeah.
And then there's things like, I guess, discipline that starts to be introduced to children from a young age, which helps you later on in life. It doesn't matter what you end up doing, but that structure, that discipline, that getting used to working hard, training. Very good point there. It's not just performing and kind of in that sport. It's the coaches, it's the shaping of the future, which I think is quite relevant today, especially with everything going on, right?
Absolutely. And I think I would be right if I say no one borns with a discipline.
Yes.
That is something that has to be taught, and it's a long-term process. I don't think even Cristiano Ronaldo, no one wake up one day and is like, today I'm going to be disciplined. And it's mostly the struggles that you are going through that is going to shape you the way you are and the way you're going to perform. And that identity that you create on the early stages as a child, that actually is going to help you to perform, even if it's business, even if it's sports, even if it's your family environment. That identity and that discipline, that consistency is really going to stay with you for your entire life.
No, true. And with yourself and your career, so you went on to captain the Romanian rugby team. How did that help you, and what in terms of your leadership and in terms of your general journey in life?
More than an opportunity and an honor to be a captain for any national team nowadays, it's all about leadership. And there is something that I always mention to my friends. I can't stress enough about. Right now, I think at the professional level, they are starting to get this right. However, when you talk about semi-professional level, there is a huge confusion between captain and the MVP, the best player in the team. It has nothing to do. Look at John Terry, look at Iker Casillas for Real Madrid, look at Sergio Ramos. I don't think they were the best players on the field. They were the leaders of the changing room. They were the people. They were the wisest, and probably the more emotional stable on the field.
True.
An MVP for me, it's someone that you can put it in the field in the last 10 minutes and they can win that game. They can score a goal or whatever it is. That's an MVP. That's the most valuable player, the best player in the team. However, most of the times they are probably also the most emotional ones. So
Right.
do they make the best captain? Probably not.
Yeah.
So that's a contrast. That's a a very fine line that coaches nowadays probably again at the professional level they navigate really well. At the semi-professional level and probably lower leagues they will still have to manage. And captaincy, it's more about leadership.
Yeah.
Myself, I don't consider myself the best player on that team, and I never was the most gifted or talented. I was probably the most hardworking and an example in the field, out of field, in the training, or even on the events, like official events. So that probably gave me the opportunity to become a captain for Romanian national team.
Amazing, and what an achievement.
Thank you.
So your career took you from Romania to Spain to France and eventually here to Dubai. And what made you take the leap to the UAE?
First to the UAE, I came before I moved here.
Right.
Just to take you a bit to the events, I was playing for the rugby national team. I was a captain at that point, and like everything else in life, it has a timeline. And apparently, my time was due. I got an injury in my lower back, and I had to stop. Months before, I was in the UAE, and I fall in love with the place. First of all, I fall in love with the UAE, and I found that. Probably here, most of the opportunities are going to be on places like Dubai. They're going to show up in places like Dubai. And it was one moment of confusion when literally when you end your career, you are very confused. And I was like, where would be the best place I would love to be, or to live, and to reinvent myself? And I thought about UAE, and that's the reason why I choose UAE. And there is one thing that I always prefer to mention is that you always can go back home. Your home is always there. Your family is there. Your friends are there. They are going to always wait for you. What if always try to take that step forward and say, what if maybe there is something better on that Dubai journey, for example, for me.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, Dubai gave me the opportunity to reinvent myself, to become the person I am today, and all these opportunities that nowadays are more and more rare in my country or in Europe.
No, true. So going on to the fact that we know that every athlete has defining moments. Was there one match or one victory or one defeat that completely changed the way that you see life today?
I would pretty much everyone is talking about the success stories, and I would probably choose to talk about the defeat. And most of the defeats that shaped my life happen even outside of the rugby field.
Right.
So one was the injury, definitely, that led me through. At that point, I thought it was the worst day of my career, and actually it was the first day of my whatever it's gonna be my next chapter in life.
Yeah.
And second one, my mom's suicide when I was 17. So obviously that was also a defining moment on my life. I didn't see her for the past 18 years before she suicided or something like that. Right. So it was no, not 18 years, probably 9 years. I was 17 at that point. So you see, my life was focused on rugby. However, those defining moments happen most of the time out of the field.
Yeah. Wow, that's quite a story. And do you think playing a sport at that level actually helped you mentally to focus on something else, so you weren't focusing on whatever was going on that was slightly maybe negative in your life? Did it help you to be focused on a sport? I imagine it did.
Absolutely. It's the fact that you are focusing on a sport, the fact that the sport and the coaches, the teammates are helping you to shape your life, to become your family, and other than keeping you busy, they are always going to be there and support you. It's not only about keeping you distracted, but they're going to support you, Yeah. And I still have friends that I used to play with them. We are talking on pretty much daily basis, and it helps you to go through life and to shape yourself in a way that if I wouldn't go to sport, probably I would be ending up in a different lifestyle, different environment. And that's a common story even with I heard it with French football players, Zlatan Ibrahimovic at some point,
Yeah.
living on these difficult moments, these difficult areas of their neighborhood. So
Yes.
definitely sport gives you a perspective. And for me at that time in the 90s, I would say, was the way out. And that happened for, I guess, a lot of countries that were post-communist, that were in Europe struggling at that point economically.
Yeah.
That was your way out. There was no other alternative. You're always thinking, okay, I have to do it to sport because that's the way I'm gonna go to play in France. That's the way I'm gonna go to play in Spain. So that was your opportunity to go out. And what I found really fascinating, I was reading an article about the captain of Germany national team right now, and it was a line that really stayed with me. They were saying that his father was driving him for 260 kilometers every morning for him to get the training. And sometimes you think about it, how much life changed from 20, 30 years ago to today, because those parents are very rare nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, to be a father or a mother, to drive your kid for 260 kilometers just to get a training at elite academy is not something that happens nowadays so often like it used to happen.
It's true. No, I have to agree with you. And there's quite a few stories like that. You're right. Yeah, I think the world has evolved and parenting has evolved as well with it. But yeah, I think the parents put a lot of effort and time back in the 90s mainly and maybe 2000s. So many people now today see you as a coach rather than a player. Was it difficult letting go of professional rugby, or did coaching feel like that was your next chapter?
It was obviously the first couple of months, probably even a year, was extremely difficult. I couldn't even watch rugby. It was an emotional impact. It was everything for me. Since I was 9 for 18 years till 27, I was doing rugby morning till night. I didn't know anything else. And, you know, it hits you the day when the doctor comes and say, you know, you have 2 herniated discs.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it. You have to go through surgery. If you don't go to surgery, you're never going to be able to lift even 5 kgs from the floor. And that's another story. But then I thought, obviously was a hit that I got. But then I realized that, you know, as an athlete, it's all about proving yourself, proving your quality, how good you are, and helping your team to win.
Yeah.
As a coach, it's about multiplying yourself. So everything you achieve and you build as an athlete, you have to now to multiply through your students. Either I coach people in cycling, in football, kickboxing, and everything you do during those workouts and trainings, you are trying to inspire them to act because the same way I was impacted by my coaches.
So you've become the motivator.
Exactly. So you try to multiply that energy and everything, the experience that you gain, and you know, let them embody in that.
It's amazing. I'm going to move on slightly to. This is quite interesting as well. We're talking a little bit about your life at Dubai Police. And we know today you're helping train members of Dubai Police. How different is that coaching actual police officers compared to professional athletes?
I would say there is probably one single similarity that I could think about it. Everything else is completely different. And the similarity is going to be performing under stress.
Yeah.
So they have to perform under stress, either if you're a pro athlete, either if you are a police officer. Now, what is different about it is that the metrics are going to be different. As an athlete, you have to win trophies, you have to win games, you have to perform stats, sprints, endurance. When it comes about police, it's about how many people you saved, how many events you probably intervene in, how many events you intervene on the streets, and probably you help in calming down a situation. And definitely it's all about working on under fatigue. For them, it's more psychology, and it's how to drive those events, how to remove the stress, remove the tension, remove the anger of the people that you are interfering with as a police officer, and calming down the situation. And I remember there was a unfortunate story a couple of days ago, weeks ago, with the Poirier in the airport in the US. They caught him up probably a bit tired, and he was ready to fight with the police officer. And he had a body camera, the police officer as usual, recording all the event, all the intercourse. And then what happened is that everyone started blaming the police officer for not fighting with him, which is actually what was the best approach. So you basically de-escalate that situation without fighting. That's probably something that you have to learn as a police officer. It's a lot about psychology, how to de-escalate all these events.
And then I guess following on from that, obviously physical, we've said fitness is important. How much work goes into building mental resilience and discipline with the police officers as well?
There is always a debate of what comes first. It's the body or is the mind, what you have to develop, how you. I guess it goes hand in hand. And the body, you're not going to earn it from the first day when you go to the gym or you're going to train. So definitely you need that push. This is why I was talking earlier about your parents, your coaches, that they have to structure your life, they have to discipline and create that schedule for you that you have to follow. And you have to follow that schedule that your coaches are obviously offering you. But again, I would say that it really goes hand in hand, and it's really important to follow a schedule, follow people that they already did similar to you, to what you are trying to achieve. They achieve similar goals. And I would say that the consistency, it's more about consistency and resilience. And that comes with preparation, because from preparation it comes the competence, and from the competence it leads to the confidence. So I was talking earlier with friends about the match Morocco against Argentina, right? That confidence that Argentina had, it comes from the preparation. At some point you can even say it, although I understand the discussion that sometimes they got robbed, sometimes there are some other interest, marketing, whatever, I understand. But if you look deep down, were they really prepared Morocco to win mentally, emotionally? They were really prepared to win that game, because when you have a team, it happened to me as a player. We were about to win several games, and then the better team always comes up in the last minute and they score and they win, because they are much more prepared. They did this several other times, and they are much more confident than you are, because you are finding yourself in a place where, what I'm gonna do now? I'm about to win with this team. No one ever believed. I believed about that. I was the underdog, and then you're gonna get slapped. You're gonna get hit because they have much more confidence than you have.
Yeah, very true. It's all mental. So, Dubai Police is known globally for embracing innovation and very high standards. How has working in that environment challenged you as a coach?
Absolutely, I have to adapt. First of all, I had to understand that they are not professional athletes and they have different needs. And the moment you understand that, your approach changes. And one thing that I really appreciate about Dubai Police is about the system they have to create, that excellency system. The fact that there is not even a reason to challenge that. Look at the policing or at the police institutions, with all the problems they have to deal when it comes about Europe or even US. While here, we don't have that, thanks God. We have a relaxed life, they have also a relaxed life. Why? Because the system, the excellent system that they put in place, with all the innovation, AI, knowing that they are the best in the world at whatever they are doing, adopting all that technology, lead them to be one of the best police institution in the world. And that makes everyone's lives easier. Ours that we are outside, or people that are inside, make their life even easier.
No, 100%. And if you had to describe one quality that separates exceptional performers from everyone else, whether it's sport or policing or anything, what would it be? One quality.
Most of the people, they would say it's going to be discipline. I would say it's that self-awareness, that 360 degrees view. Being the midfielder in the center of the field and being able to read all the information and everything that happens around you, taking the decision fast and deliver. I think that even if it's a police officer, even if it's an athlete, that makes a difference. And as an athlete, I think it's a bit of unpredictability as well, that it's required to be one of the top players. Look at Cristiano, look at Messi, that they are really unpredictable for the defenders in front of them. And that makes it's sometimes something very difficult to defend. So I would say that self-awareness and be able to read the room, read whatever is happening and take decision pretty fast, even as a police officer, that probably stands out when it comes as a quality.
True. So coming back to yourself a little bit more, you've reinvented yourself several times throughout your career. What's the biggest lesson you've learnt that about adapting to change?
I would say that your profession, your career doesn't define your identity. So you build your identity as a child in the early stages, and then you take all that character that you have built through several journeys, where obviously you have to focus. Focus is one of the primary reason that someone succeeds, either if it's a sports career, because you won't see a football player doing football one day and then go playing basketball. They have to really focus on whatever they are doing. Same in business, it applies the same structure. So I would say that identity will help you to go through several phases on your career, whether if it's entrepreneurship, coaching, sports. So definitely building a character early stages that creates a leader, creates a resilient person, creates a discipline that will help you to succeed pretty much in every other field.
Nice, thank you for that. So professional sport often looks glamorous from the outside, but many athletes struggle financially once their playing career ends. Why do you think that happens, and what advice would you give to young athletes about managing money and planning for life after sport?
It can be a bit of ignorance. It happened to me. I was in that place because from the moment I got injured to the moment I had to retire, it took me it was 2 or 3 months apart, and no one prepares you for that. And I was reading an article a couple of months ago saying that there was a study, a research made in the US, 2022, I guess, if I'm not wrong, saying that only 9% of the professional athletes, they ever ask. Now they ask for financial consults or advisor.
9%.
Only 9% of the profession. So think about the rest 91% that they don't even ask, or they didn't even consider to have a financial advisor. And we have stories like Anthony Walker, from the NBA player, from $108 million wealth till debt, bankruptcy within 2 years.
Absolutely.
Mike Tyson for $400 million to bankruptcy in a couple of years.
Yes.
So there are so many other examples, unfortunately. And that was it was an interesting discussion that I had with my friend that I mentioned earlier, Yahya Al Ghassani, the football player from the UAE and Al Ahly, that he's actually developing a project around kids, football academy, and financial education, which I found it brilliant.
Absolutely. I think that's one of our key focuses here as well, is really trying to focus on financial literacy, especially for emerging athletes before they get to their peak, because if they know how to, even basics of how to manage money and what they should be doing, I think that's the time to really talk to them and get them thinking, and then helping them when they're at their peak. Because for most athletes, the longest career span is around 5 years, depending on the sport.
Sure.
It's not a long time. And if you're not managing money and you're not understanding that at that point, we've seen you've mentioned so many examples.
Yeah, and I remember that there are a couple of academies in the UK when it comes about football, like Manchester, Arsenal, that they are offering this kind. But again, how many are doing this around the world? Not a lot, not enough probably. So definitely it has to be implemented from early stages. And this is why academies have to have this kind of system where you teach them sports, you teach them nutrition, but also finance literacy, because you are helping them to achieve that lifestyle, that luxurious lifestyle. Unfortunately, the lifestyle grows exponential with their salary, but at some point that salary probably will stop coming, and your lifestyle it's already at a level where you cannot even sustain it anymore. So that's the reason why, if you have that in your academy at early stages, and you teach them, or even recommend them a couple of books, that's gonna probably change their life. And it's not only about their life, but the people that are gonna come, their ancestors and the people that are gonna come after them. True.
And I think, especially for athletes, retirement comes quick for general public, they have a longer working life, but for athletes, such a small window.
For short life, yeah.
Very, very short career span. So, yeah, I mean, I know I'm doing a lot of work with trying to get into academies here to try and see what we can do in terms of presenting workshops to them and what have you. So this is the reason to put it out there. So finally, when people hear the name Nino Barbu 10 years from now, what do you hope that they remember you for? Is it as an athlete or just as you as a person?
I would prefer it as a person, and I would prefer to remember one thing that I experienced as an athlete, as a business person currently, is that you don't have to be scared about people that you are playing against, either if it's sports in your career, either it's in business, because most of the time I was surprised to understand that they don't have more information, they don't know more than you know. They have that confidence that comes from, again, preparation and competence. So the more you're going to prepare, the more you're going to be competent, the more you're going to be able and confident to stay with them on the same table and probably win several times against them. So I was surprised, even in the business world, it's new for me, that the moment you start to read a couple of books, you start to educate, invest a bit in your education. I was traveling in the US for the past couple of years just to get education. You reach at a level where you understand, okay, wait a minute, these people, they don't know more than me. They are just a bit more confident, and they did that more times than I did it. So that's the only thing, it's just the repetition.
Yeah.
You know, again, a Cristiano Ronaldo at 22 years old, why was so different than other players at 22 years old? He had the same amount of life. He lived the same amount of 22 years old.
Yeah.
He just, for the past 3-4 years, he took so many free kicks comparing to the other player, that the confidence, the performance, the numbers were coming from the everything that happened off the field. I mean, in the training.
In the training, yeah.
Not in the official games.
Absolutely.
So that's where the confidence and the competence come from, being in the dark, being in the shadow, and repeating the process over and over again.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure everyone who tunes into this is going to get so much value out of it. Thank you
very
again.
much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.